I'll have email information that I'll email out to everyone. I'll be here for a while, can answer questions that you might have. We can, we've got printed applications for this program. We've got online applications, whatever is easiest and best for you. This is really just the start of it. We are a very human-based organization. When you sign up for this, you're going to have me or one of our relationships managers that'll be your point person, and they can answer any of the questions that you have as you kind of go through that process. Mm-hmm.
So I already know no matter what, like I can bring about like 100 or 200 well, of year. So the main problem they have, so most of them they have like some of them are visa, but they need a program where they can get a work permit like faster as possible. So
okay.
Can you guys find a way, like the whole Ohio State, can you guys find a way to provide a work permit for them, like do not take like 6 months, 8 months. You know what I mean? Like something who can take like at least 2 months, 3 months.
I don't know specifically the timeline for it, but take one of my cards. One of my old coworkers is now with the Ohio Department of Development, and she runs the minority and refugee programs, and so. Send me an email, and I'll at least get you to her. She might be able to. Her name's Aminata.
If I can meet with her, that would be awesome. Because this is the main problem we have. There's so many of us coming from Haiti, from Dominican Republic, like wherever we come from. So they need jobs. They have like kids down there, like family down there. They would like to provide for them. But the problem is the work permit. It takes too many time. Sometimes it takes 2 years, 4 years, and they have no problem together. You see what I mean? But the problem is, it's, I don't know if it's a state how they do it or the government how they do it. Like if they can find a way at least to make it happen, what should they need to make it happen in 2 months, 1 month? That would save the state make more money, and the country make more money because they come and need to work. Yeah. And everybody knows they are the hard worker. Like everybody knows.
Yeah.
So I mean, so we like I just got my citizenship, but what I see, we as an American, like if we need them need to stay and do what you get them to do, so you gotta find a way to get them to work better easily because like so many business or the business like for example government, some of government business or a lot of business. They take too much money from them to just get a work permit.
Yeah. It's certainly.
I don't know if I can add something on that. The work permit, I know it's an immigration stuff.
Yeah, yes.
But in town, probably later we'll discuss about it. There is a lot of event centers on the pole and different other institutions, and for-profit or non-profit institutions that actually helping with people to get their work permit faster. And some of them ask for to be paid. Some it's pretty much free to get access to that work permit. So it should be a matter of getting to the right person to get your things done.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, and so ECDI. One thing I forgot to include: we were founded in 2004 by a woman who came to the United States as a refugee, and her dad had the story of he was a well-respected engineer and came to the United States and had to start over and became a janitor. And he started a small business, and he turned it into multiple small businesses. And so for us, work with refugees is kind of foundational. And so the work that we do with refugees is really important to our organization from, it's a firm part of what we do. And so this program and the credit element to this program is meant to address that we understand that as people, as any new Americans come, one, understanding our credit system is not easy, and two, if you're starting from no score, from no credit history, it becomes very difficult to have a positive credit history initially. And so this Track 1 program, where we're not just giving you the credit builder loan just to give you a loan, we also are giving you training to understand what that loan is doing and how it's being reported out to the credit bureaus and things like that. Because to answer one of your questions, you as an individual sign as a guarantor on the loan. So you're essentially, as the human, are saying, regardless what happens to this business, you're going to guarantee that this loan is being repaid. And that's the thing that allows it to be reported to your credit score. And so that is, if you don't have any credit lines, if you don't have any credit cards or cell phone bills or anything that's reporting, then this can be the thing that has those positive elements to it. Yes? No, you don't need to be certified as a minority-owned business. It's called an MBE. The purpose of an MBE, but you do need, for this credit builder loan, you do need to be a refugee or asylee that has been in the United States for less than 5 years. And so the certifications of a business really are more for purposes of like government contracts and things like that. And so that actually takes a decent amount of work to get those certifications. It's not like something you can just sign up for. And so we actually offer trainings to help businesses become certified. And so it's part of the service and resources that we offer. And so you do need to be registered as a business with the state of Ohio. So you'd have to have a LLC or a partnership or something that's registered with the Secretary of State. Yeah.
Like you have to at least be open for 1 year to be certified here?
No, and again, we don't really require the certifications. You have to have an operating business in order to become certified. But for access to our programs, you can have a business that starts tomorrow and qualify for our programs. We definitely help businesses that are on kind of if you have an idea and you want to turn that idea into a business, we're here to help you right now. Any other questions? Does anybody have a business that they want information on, or sure?
Did you have to be resident of Ohio?
You don't have to be a resident of Ohio, but your business has to be registered in Ohio, or in Indiana, right outside Cincinnati, or in Kentucky, or West Virginia, right along the river.
I got a question, sir.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I see your interest, for me, it's hard money for someone to start.
Can you say that again?
When I see your interest,
Yep.
it's hard money for the business when you start.
Oh, it is, and it's that these are all. So I mean, ECDI is a nonprofit. So when we lend out a loan and it gets repaid, that goes back in and goes out to another business. And so each one of those is a fund. That interest amount corresponds to how much of the loans end up going into default. And so it covers the losses on the loans that we have. And so we actually, over the course of the last 3 years, have really lowered our rates down to, there was periods of time where they were at like 6%, which is kind of what you're getting for mortgages now. And so it's, even though interest rates overall for houses and cars and things like that have all gone up, ours have stayed pretty low. It depends on your individual business where it's located, but it's somewhere between about 6 and 10%. So I think as of late, they've been around 8%. Yes.
So, how long that might take, like, for example, you someone to apply for a loan, how long that might take, like, to get the loan? How long that might take?
So yeah, the process from applying, it kind of all depends on where you are and how much documentation you have. If you just have an idea and you need to start with a business plan and start building out like what the business is going to be, financial projections, things like that, that can take more time. But if you have a business, you have a business plan or an existing business, and you have all the document, you'll get a checklist of all the documents that you'll need. The faster you put all of those documents together, the faster the loan happens. And so I've seen people come in with their application and every single document in order, labeled, and they receive their loan within like 2 weeks. And so sometimes that process to gather all the documentation or for us to gather the eligibility documents to show that, or to licenses, things like that, can all add in time to it, but it largely depends on you and how quickly we can gather all the information. Sure. Yeah.
Bon, bonsoir tout le monde et merci d'être nous là encore une fois. I'm going to Haitian Creole. So again, nous avons un service interprétariat qui est OK. Donc tout le monde qui a besoin pour capable jouer en traduction en temps réel, d'accord, gagner un petit boîte ça que m'a passé ba nous. Comme ça, on est capable de gagner dans les oreilles, ou du moins dans 2 oreilles, nous, et puis nous faisons une traduction en temps réel. Et que ça, si nous avons une question, nous pouvons poser en créole, et puis nous faisons en sorte que nous partageons le message, bien sûr, avec Tim. Okay? Donc, merci d'être nous là. So, again, they're ready. Whenever they need help with Haitian Creole, we get them this device, so that way we can have a live translating going on, okay?
All right. Can I start over from the beginning?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have time.
Okay, perfect.
Feel free. Bon, avant, je vais pour rappeler tout le monde qui est venu en cas en retard, pour nous capable gagner plus bonne idée sur ça. Entre-temps, il y a une question qui va toujours une question dans le papier, et papier devant nous, on a plume tout. Nous allons pas passer pour nous poser, ou du moins, si nous avons toujours levé maintenant pour nous prendre question, d'accord? All right.
Perfect. All right. For those of you who just came in, if anyone, I'm going to go through again, and so if anyone has any questions or anything clarifying, that now's the perfect time. For any of you who are just joining us, my name is Tim Kehoe. I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships at ECDI. ECDI is the Economic and Community Development Institute. Our mission is investing in people to create measurable and enduring social and economic change. What that means is that we have small business programs to help individuals either start or grow a small business.
I have a question. If in case you already have a loan, that not stopping you to get a second loan?
Not at all.
So what the base on from state of Ohio?
The loan?
Yeah, the credit.
Oh, yeah, it's based on credit, which we'll talk about here in a moment, a little bit.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Yeah.
Go ahead.
We operate throughout the entire state, located in Columbus primarily as our headquarters, but we have offices in Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Portsmouth that have our women's business centers, and offices in Toledo, Akron, and Canton. As I was mentioning, ECDI was founded in 2004 by a lady named Ina Kinney. She came to the United States as a refugee. Her dad was a well-respected engineer and came over and started over kind of as a janitor and started a business, turned it into multiple businesses, and you know, through a lot of hard work has achieved a pretty high level of success. And so for her, our organization and our work with refugees is fundamental to what we do. our ORR programming was one of the first funding sources that we have. We offer training, coaching, and then small business loans. We are the largest SBA micro lender in the United States, which is a pretty proud thing for us. And then we are what's called a community development financial institution. So CDFI is a Treasury Department designation. What this says that is, in some ways we're like a bank, and in some ways we're not like a bank at all, where we do small business loans, and we have small business lending programs, but we don't have checking accounts or savings accounts or credit cards or anything like that. We are a nonprofit organization ourselves. We have two main kind of programmatic functions. We have our training and technical assistance programs, and then we have our lending programs. And so the reason why ECDI exists as a lender is because banks, based on interest, that's how they earn their revenue. And so banks, it costs the same amount for a bank to do a $5,000 loan as it does a $50,000 loan as it does a $5 million loan. And so banks don't want to do $5,000 loans or $50,000 loans because it's not easy to do them. And so banks want to do those $5 million loans because the 8% that they get off of that is much bigger than the 8% you get off of a $10,000 loan. And so ECDI and other CDFIs exist because you can start lots of businesses for way less than $1 million. And so our historical loans, since 2004, we've done almost 6,000 small business loans, and our average loan size, I think, is $22,000. And so we're here for small businesses. We have what's called our women's business centers. These are in Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Portsmouth, but their services and assistance are available statewide. They can help you kind of in whatever need your small business has. The Women's Business Center has either internal business advisors that can help you with it, or we have professional advisors that are available to our network of individuals. So based on whatever it is that your business needs to overcome, they can have assistance to help you. We also have food business incubation services. So we have a director of food safety and a director of food business incubation. So if you want to start a food business, or if you want to pivot your business into a food channel, we have people that can help you do that. We also have physical infrastructure that can help. We have mobile food commissary. We have a food production facility with a bottling line, things like that. We have our Minority Contractor Resource Center. So this is for this program, you do have to be certified. This is the MBE or WBE certification. And this is the one that is for MBE or WBE certified contractors within the construction industry on how to build their capacity and achieve bigger, better, more profitable programs. And then we have our social enterprise hub. So this is businesses or organizations that have a community benefit in addition to their business. So it could be serving an underserved population or employing an underemployed population, or it could be like an environmental benefit. It could be one of those things where you buy a pair of shoes and they donate a pair of shoes somewhere. Those are all examples of social enterprises. And so we have a whole program to help those businesses thrive. And so these are our small business lending programs. So these are our loan programs. These are ones that are available to anyone, regardless of refugee or asylee status. And so these are ones that we offer throughout the year. There's no special eligibility to them. And so these are ones that I'll talk through them all, and then I want to go through the refugee ones because there's some elements to it that are slightly different. So we have our microloan program. So this is for small businesses. These are small business loans really for any legitimate business purpose. You can buy a business with it. You can buy equipment. You can buy inventory. You can improve a leased space to become your storefront. The startup businesses are limited to $75,000, Existing businesses can be eligible for up to 500,000. It does require a 590 credit score. So that is the small business owner's credit score. That doesn't mean that if you have a 591, you're going to qualify for 500,000 automatically. But what it does recognize is that by the time individuals typically come to ECDI, they've extended themselves as far as they can as an individual. In a moment, we're going to talk about one of the programs that is specific to refugees and asylees that is for individuals with challenging credit. So a credit score that's less than 590, for example, or no credit score at all. Standard microloan is 6 years in term length, so 72 months. There is no early repayment penalty, so if you get 2 years in and you want to pay it off, you can. There's no fee for that. There's interest rate somewhere between 6 and 12%. Realistically, it's probably going to be more somewhere along the lines of 6 to probably 9% right now. And then closing costs are somewhere between 1 and 5%. One important thing to note is that you don't have to bring the closing costs as cash or a check. It can be deducted from the loan funds that are sent to you. We have our Community Advantage program. This is more similar to what you would experience at a traditional bank. It's for startup or existing businesses between 50,000 and 250,000. It does require a qualifying SBA score where we send all the applications to them. They approve it or deny it before we ever even do. This does have different collateral requirements that if you own a home and you have a certain level of equity in that home, you are required to pledge a junior mortgage position on the home as collateral for the small business loan as part of this specific program only. Interest rates on this loan, the term length on this loan can go up to 10 years. So the longer you have to pay off a loan, the lower your monthly payment is. However, this program has a variable interest rate where when the interest rates tick up, your monthly loan payment ticks up as well. Closing costs for this program are maximum $2,500, and that again can be just deducted from the loan itself as opposed to having you bring $2,500. So those are our standard programs. They're available to anyone at any time. This program is specific to refugees and asylees. It offers, in addition to lending programs, it offers support as a human individual from a financial literacy, credit counseling, credit assistance perspective. It's designed to be available for refugees and asylees who don't have a business yet and just have a business idea, and also refugees and asylees that have existing businesses that are successful and want to grow. Included in the lending programs is also training and coaching programs as well. So eligibility. If you're a refugee or asylee and you've been in the United States for 5 years or less, if you've been in the United States for more than 5 years, we also have programs that are available to you. They're just outside of this specific program. Lawful permanent residents or green card holders are eligible as long as you came into the United States as a refugee or asylee. If you have any questions about eligibility, just grab one of my cards and reach out and ask, and I can answer any questions that you might have. You do have to be registered in the state of Ohio as a business. If you had a business in Haiti, that business does not qualify here. And if you, as an individual, are a business, I shouldn't say that. If you had a business in Haiti, you would have to register that business here as a business in the state of Ohio, as either an LLC, a partnership, incorporated. All of those are eligible entity types, but you do have to get registered with the Secretary of State in Ohio. And then that registration as that separate entity makes you not a sole proprietor. So instead of you as the human, you have you as the human and then a separate entity that is the business. So part of this program, we have 2 different tracks. Track 1 is for individuals who have basically no credit or challenged credit. It includes financial coaching from a group called Ayisyen. They specialize in financial training and coaching, credit coaching. It involves a small credit builder loan. So a loan of up to $1,500 for a year or 18 months in length that is designed to just purely give you positive reporting on your credit as it gets paid back. So you pay back $100 a month, those repayments get reported, and then at the end of that period, you've got a paid in full loan that has been reporting to your credit report the whole time. And so, especially if you have very limited credit history, it's very difficult to counteract any negative indicators you have. And so this loan is a way to pay back a term loan and have all of those positive reporting elements for you during the life of this loan. We don't just want to give you the loan just to give it to you, and so that coaching is there to support you and to understand what the impacts are on your credit. We can do what's called a soft credit pull, where it doesn't register as an inquiry, so you don't have any of the negative impacts from that. And so we help you to monitor your credit throughout it. And so this is meant to be if you have such a limited credit history that you either have no score or you only have a few trade lines that report to them, it can be hard to counteract any negative indicators that you have. Track 2 is for more established businesses or individuals who have a more firm business idea and that are further on that process into starting the business or qualifying for a traditional loan. Those are back to kind of the standard loan programs that we have, but we support you with additional coaching and training resources from specialized individuals for. We have a Ukrainian refugee or a Ukrainian individual who's helping the Ukrainian refugees, and we're starting to build out more and more partnerships to help different communities. And so the idea is if you have challenged credit, we can help you get to a place where a year from now, you may be able to qualify for one of those other lending programs. So how it works, you would go to ecdi.org/refugee, fill out your information so that we can capture our information, make sure you get all the information that you need. If you want to apply for either of the 2 loan programs, I have printed loan applications I can give to you today, or we can send you a link and you can do the entire loan application online. Please make sure you sign in on that sign-in sheet so that we get your email address is really important because that's how we're going to get back in touch with you with a lot of this information. We plan on doing more and more here in Springfield, and so even though we're located in Columbus, we do have staff from both our Columbus and Cincinnati office that cover this market. And so if there's ways that we can help you in your small business, certainly let us know. I think this is the start and kind of what we hope to be a long-term presence and help for the entrepreneurs in your community. One thing that is true amongst all new Americans, regardless of if you come as an immigrant or a refugee or asylee, is that new Americans tend to start and own businesses at a much higher rate than people who are born as Americans. And so it's largely born because the people who take the effort to come all the way here are the ones who work, really, really hard. And so our organization quite literally is founded on that principle. Questions? Yes.
When you say your company there, the Small Business Administration being one of the factors that we've noticed is a number of the Haitian community with getting the ability to acquire their own home, their own residency. Okay, so my question is that, is it possible, because there is some very astute Haitians in this area here that have the financial ability, would your organization be able to assist and guide them in setting up a membership type organization so that we could put together a banking community to offer the Haitian community the opportunity to purchase these homes? Because one of the factors that we're running into is a lot of the banks won't do it unless they have 2 years, 3 years history, and by that time they're paying an exorbitant amount of money to reside in a home, whereas they would rather own the home, and
Yeah.
they could financially.
One of the things that's a challenge about what we have is that, so SBA funding can't be used in any way for residential purposes. SBA funding is strictly limited for-profit businesses. And so, in theory, we could help somebody start a business that would be a mortgage company that could repackage mortgages, and then they could go out and find lenders who are maybe more open to non-traditional underwriting practices and things like that. We don't have the ability to impact kind of the home or residential sale perspective, because they tend to keep those programs from entirely different funding sources than the small business programs that we access.
Okay, but you would be able to assist if, let's propose that we bring you a business that's Haitian-owned that does $18 million a year, okay? Would the SBA qualify that, given that the number of employees that are involved in that, as a small business?
Depends on the industry.
Right.
So the industry type determines whether a business is measured by revenue or by number of employees. Typically, a business is small. What I'm going to say covers like 99% of it is if a business has either less than 500 employees or less than $15 million in revenue. Some of the industries go up to like 500 million in revenue, depending on what it is. And so it would depend on that. 15 million in revenue and 500 employees they're both pretty big businesses. And so that's the limiting factor from the SBA's perspective.
Thank you.
But yet, to the underlying question, yes, we would be able to, if a Haitian-owned business, really kind of any type, could qualify for these programs. Absolutely.
Is there a way for the Haitian community to get a more streamlined process when they come? They want to start businesses. I mean, I work with a number of them in this room that have done phenomenally well, but getting the process more streamlined so that they can set up for C corporations, S corporations.
Yes, though the process to get set up with those is not really very difficult. It's $100 and you pay it to the Secretary of State. The challenge is if you have an S corp or a C corp, you have ongoing obligations in order to live up to the laws about a correct. You can register as a limited liability corporation or a limited liability partnership, or just as a limited company, LTD. You can do all of those formed as a separate entity. I think it's $119 with the Secretary of State. And that is it's an extremely streamlined process. In fact, I could probably demonstrate it. Oh, I don't have the internet. Yes, question?
You said that
Yeah.
we can apply for 2 loans. So your
Oh, that's fine.
Maybe you already answered that question. So how the process goes with you? For instance, if I have a business that right now is registered in Ohio, I was like, okay, I want to apply for one of these loan or at least or those two loans. So I called you and say, yes, I want to apply. What is the process with you to help us get that loan? And then if we get that loan, at least one of them, do you get a percentage of it? How much you get from that loan for your service?
Yeah, so we don't necessarily take like a percentage for us. Each loan program has a set interest rate that gets attached to it. It's typically between that like 6 and 10%. As far as the process, so if you were to go to ecdi.org/refugee, fill out that form, you automatically get matched up to a relationship manager. This is a person who is there for you. They'll give you a list of all the documents that you would need to collect. Any taxes that you filed in the time that you've been here, your I-94 or your green card or both. Capture all of those things that show that eligibility, and then they walk you and handhold you through the process. There's certain documents that you have to fill out that are Small Business Administration, SBA documents. They will email all of those to you. They're there really to answer any questions and to help you through the process. And so there isn't necessarily there isn't a fee for that. That is paid for by the SBA. And so I'm standing here today because of funding from Office of Refugee Resettlement for these activities. And
So technically, if, for instance, my business is qualified for $2,000, $200,000, so you help me in the whole entire process.
Yep.
And then I get that fund come to my business account. So I don't have nothing to give to you, or 1% or 2%.
I mean, there's a closing cost, just like a normal loan. It's somewhere between like 1 and 5%. I think the typical one is $2,500, and that's an SBA programmatic thing.
Okay.
And so that can actually, let's say it's $100,000 that your loan is, and it's a closing cost of $2,500. That can just be deducted from the $100,000.
Okay.
So you would then get $97,500.
I got it.
But as far as like the time that you have with the individual, the relationship manager, there's no fee for that. You can, like, that person is, their assistance to you is a part of our process. There's no per hour fee or anything like that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I have a question.
Sure.
Hi everyone, my name is Cock. My question is going this way. I've been here for 4 years, and I've been here when the coronavirus break out. How are you guys are prepared to support business when we got a kind of inconvenient like this, like coronavirus?
I'll tell you, it was for an organization like ours, where we have our clients are small businesses. And so when small businesses are in crisis, we are in a massive crisis. And so one of the first things we did was we suspended all payments on our loans for the first 2 months. Because when they did the lockdowns, if you think like the people who were primarily affected, it's retailers, it was restaurants, it was all the places where you go in and shop, and that's a lot of small businesses. And so we knew that I mean, they called for the stay-at-home order for 2 months, so we said nobody has loan payments for 2 months. And those just get pushed to the very end. You can deal with them later. And so that was the first thing we did. And then we started doing really advantageous low interest rate kind of rescue funds. We eventually offered Paycheck Protection Program loans, which were forgivable loans. that are no longer available because we're not still in the pandemic, but we did. Prior to coronavirus, our entire loan portfolio total was about $15 million. I think it was about 2,000 loans for about $15 million. And then in one 5-month period, we did $44 million in PPP loans. There were forgivable loans from the SBA to small business owners. And at that point, everybody had had a chance to have had a PPP loan from other banks and other lenders prior to that. And so that was where we literally we had people coming into our office during the pandemic to sit down at a computer because getting through the process to apply for a loan that they knew they were eligible for was too difficult. And so, like most things, when small businesses are in crisis, we wrap them with training and technical assistance and assistance with resources, but then also that access to capital piece.
And I have another idea. Why don't you adjust the loan, then just 2 months, stop the loan for 2 months? Why don't you adjust it? Some banks are doing it this way when they are in crisis or whatever the crisis is, a pandemic, or it's like a local, like just say Springfield got an issue, something that happened. And some of the business will have to stop, especially like let's say restaurant for health issues. So why don't you guys address it and stop it? Sometimes we adjust this kind of.
Yeah, we did in kind of a different way. At the start of the pandemic, we got in loan funds that were at lower rates than what we were previously able to offer. And so rather than adjust the existing loans, we did a new loan program. I think a lot of the loans were at like 2%. And so, what people did is they, instead of adjusting, say they had a $20,000 loan and they owed $10,000 on it, rather than adjusting that $10,000, they took out a different loan for that same amount at a much lower rate. And so it replaced it where they didn't have to work throughout the entire loan process. They just essentially took out a different one and swapped it out for a better interest rate. Yes?
For example, if you take a loan like this month, so can you refinance this loan if like the next 6 months, the next 8 months, or the next 2 years coming? Can you refinance it?
Absolutely. These loan programs are designed to be easily refinanced. A lot of times what happens is, let's say you start the business and you have your business checking account at Huntington or Fifth Third, and they start to see revenue coming through your business account. They start to look at their lending programs and say, before they may have taken a meeting with you, but you wouldn't have ever qualified. They'll take your checking account because they want your fees and your processing fees. And then once they start to see like, oh, this is a business that we may want to do a loan to. And so you get 2 years into your loan payments with us, and they want to do a longer term, slightly better interest rate, and maybe give you new dollars to buy your building or buy a new piece of equipment. That's a common occurrence for it. And there also is no fee to do that.
And also, like for example, if your house, because if you're the owner of the business, you have to, like, let's say a consignor. It's not a consignor, but no matter what, it's a consignor. You have to be a consignor for the business. Okay, so for example, if your house don't worth enough money like you want for the business, so will you guys still give the loan or not?
Yeah, so there's only one program, and it's actually this program, this Community Advantage program. This is the only one that requires collateral that's tied to your house in any way. The other programs, they may request one. It's part of the process, but like the microloan program is not required to be a part of your house. The refugee-specific loans, the credit builder loan, things like that, those aren't tied to your home loan really in any way. A lot of our a lot of our programming goes to people who don't own their own home. It's not a uncommon thing.
No,
And so-
depending how much money
And-
the person needs for the business.
Correct. And so one of the ways you talked about collateral. So the business itself and anything it owns has value. So this computer, these speakers, this furniture, inventory, accounts receivable, all of those things have value, and those go to form a business valuation. That is collateralized for the loan by a lien on the business. Similar to a mortgage on a house, this prevents you from selling the business without paying off the business loan. And so there's a mechanism that's the same or similar to a mortgage on a house, but it's for business-specific purposes. Excuse me.
So if I got the money for start my business, so you're gonna give me a probation time to start to pay the loan, maybe 6 months or 1 year?
So what we can do, not on the credit builder one, but what it does is we can do interest-only periods. So the first, let's say you sign your loan documents today, you have until the 15th of the following month to make your first payment. And that's an SBA requirement. What we can do is do interest-only periods, where you're only paying the interest portion of it. So you're only paying that 8% of the month. So $10,000, you'd be paying $18 or something like that to carry it forward. And so the thing that does is that when your standard payments kick on, you don't have a big lump of accrued interest that hasn't been paid. And so it keeps you current while you're not paying off the principal. That's a fairly common thing that we do.
Based on your experience, would you at this point encourage someone to participate in a community advantage, put their house as a collateral
And a loan for business? Is it something you will encourage someone to do?
If it's the right scenario.
Huh?
If it's the right scenario. I wouldn't encourage everybody to do it.
Thank you.
I would encourage very specific people to do it.
In
And
what case?
somebody who has an existing business that, say, operated for 5 years, and they want to buy a big piece of manufacturing equipment. Like they want to buy a big press or something that costs $150,000 for the piece of equipment. And that piece of equipment is going to churn out a product or something like that. For somebody who wants to start a lawn care business or a cleaning service or a food truck or a auto repair shop, you would want to go into our microloan program. Yeah, because one, the community advantage, the minimum loan amount is $50,000. That's the smallest. And so if you want to buy lawn care equipment in a trailer, you don't necessarily need $50,000 to do that. And so the microloan program, which isn't tied to your home really in any way, is the program that we do probably 10 times as many microloans as we do community advantage loans.
Can you make it, just give me a second, please, just for the audience. Can you make it clear, I have two numbers, I'm trying to challenge on my numbers.
Yeah.
I have from $75,000 for a startup,
Mm-hmm.
up to 500K, but I have another one, the other page.
Correct.
Yeah, this one. So it's like startup on existing business. I would like to make Moi, des fois, de déchiffrer ça, nous, parce que parce que.
Ça, c'est deux programmes différents.
Ah, ok.
Ça, c'est un programme, ça souvent l'homme, ça va obliger d'arriver ça ou les collateraux. C'est que ça soit bataille ou bien bien pour assumer l'autre. So, nous pas encourager personne à faire ça. Parce que par exemple, c'est celle qui sont gagnées, doit prendre un petit business dans le pays, après un cas, il y a ces
What about a Haitian entrepreneur that doesn't qualify for the, or has taken no PPP loans, okay? And yet he cannot get the earned, the ECR credit, the or ERC credit, the
Employee retention credit.
He employed and maintained his people for throughout the entire pandemic. Now,
What makes them ineligible for the ERC?
well, because of the legal status of the parties that are working for the company.
Got it.
Okay, so isn't he being placed at a bit of a disadvantage?
Yes, but it goes back to that. Not really. It's also the same thing for business owners who go throughout. Let's say they're in business for 10 years, and they always do their taxes so that their expenses meets their revenue, and so they don't really ever pay any taxes. They don't show any profitability, and so when they go to file an insurance claim, that on loss of business insurance, they've been saying that their business is only barely profitable, so they get an insurance claim based on that amount. It's the same thing with the status of your employees. If you're never paying employment taxes on your employees, then the government's never going to recognize
Or
them.
yet that money was taken out to pay the local, state, federal taxes on it. And one of the problems is that the law prohibits me from discriminating, right? I mean, if somebody comes in and they apply for employment, right? And I ask them, I believe that today I'm prohibited from asking them if they have the legal right to work here in the United States, right? If they provide me with identification.
I'm certainly not a lawyer in employment, but as an employer, you absolutely have the right to establish somebody's eligibility to work in the United States. Yeah.
You have 3 days to fill out the I-9.
Right, but once they fill out and they establish that I-9, correct? Okay, the law prohibits me from taking and having discrimination if I fill out that I-9 and that party gave me false or misleading information, right? I no longer have that liability for that. I only have the liability to make sure that he gets his paycheck because he's performed his work, right? So it's like a catch-22, okay? So now we have this gentleman that has employed these people that have provided this documentation, which now the U.S. government says, well, you don't qualify for the PPP program, you don't qualify for the ERC program, you don't qualify for any of that, even though they knowingly knew that this was a situation that you had placed this particular individual in.
I mean, I don't think Maria or I can speak to the federal government's or to the IRS's.
Right, and that's why I'm trying to understand about the ERC, because the Small Business Administration, because I'm going to one of these individuals.
The Small Business Administration is entirely separate from ERC. ERC is a purely an IRS, Internal Revenue System, IRS program.
Okay, but this one particular individual, you would be able to sit down with him and help guide him and direct him with being able to move some of these revenue sources over to help establish an outreach for the Haitian community. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly help with marketing efforts and a business pivot and things like that. That's our Women's Business Center does that type of work all the time. But yeah, I mean, as far as, trying to give weight or get this individual access to one of those programs, we don't really have the ability to if he's not qualified for ERC, there's not really much that ECDI can do from the ERC perspective.
But where I'm at a loss is that if the state of Ohio allows you to set up an LLC, a C Corp, an S Corp, and they legitimize that business, why would that business then be marginalized because of the rules and the regulations that are in
But
place?
you've got two different entities. You've got the state of Ohio and you have the IRS and the federal government. And so one, your registration is with the state, but the tax structure that you're talking about is federal. And so this registration with the state doesn't legitimize really anything other than the state saying, yes, this is a business that's located here.
But even to own that business, you do not have to be a legal resident here in the state of Ohio or in the entire United States, correct? You can own.
Correct. That statement individually is true.
Right,
Yes.
okay, so if that statement be true, then if I have a fellow or a woman from Haiti that registers a business should or should not that entity receive the ERC credits or a PPP loan?
No, that you're pulling two things together that are entirely separate.
But aren't they two separate things? If I'm a resident of Ohio, I have my residency status, but then my LLC or my C Corp, it's a separate entity and it's recognized as such by the law, correct?
Correct. So now you've got another separate thing that you're pulling into this. So your entity that's registered with the state of Ohio
Correct.
has to follow all the state of Ohio laws and regulations. Nothing about that registration has anything to do with PPP, because that's a federal program.
Right?
Nothing about that registration has anything to do with ERC or Employee Retention Credit, because that's a federal program. So the registration with the state and those programs are in no way tied with each other. It's two entirely entities that have their own agendas and reasonings for those things. So having a registered LLC, no, it doesn't entitle you to anything federally.
We're not saying that they're entitled to anything federally. What we're saying is that if we are meeting the prerequisites of law by registering the company, having the employees, okay, and we followed all of the mandates that was required of us, then when you discover that, wait a minute, some of these fellows, if there's 10 people and 2 of them aren't legal, should I be denied the right to have access to the other 8?
I don't know, you'd have to ask the IRS. And that'd be purely federal level. Yep. Oh, yeah.
I actually have 2 questions about that I received.
Sure.
The very first one of the attendees asked about how long the process will take to get everything done. And the second one is, can you please share the link on the screen so more people can take note of it?
Yes, so the process really, it depends on how quickly we can gather all the documents from you. Can I jump on the website or the internet? The process really depends on how quickly you can gather up all your documentation. And so after you would go through the process to kind of register or sign up, you'll get matched up with a relationship manager. That relationship manager will send you a list of documents that you'll need to gather. ID, your I-94, any taxes that you've filed. If you have an existing business, any type of business financials you have, that can be business bank statements. If you are just starting a business, what do you have in terms of business plan? Where are you in that process? And they'll work with you. And so the process really kind of depends on where you are in that business journey. If you have an existing business and you've filed your taxes and you have documentation for all of that that's ready to be submitted, I've seen loans go from application to us sending loan funds out in less than 2 weeks. I've also seen ones where we got the application, a month later we got a personal financial statement, 2 months after that we got 1 year of taxes, and then a month after that we got the other year of taxes. And at that point, the original application is too old, that the information on it is outdated. And so I've seen both of those scenarios happen. Yes?
I just opened a business 3 months ago,
Okay.
so I don't have tax yet. So what they will base on to approve my
application?
So she mentioned that her business is just getting started like 3 months ago, so she doesn't have any taxes filed yet. Whatever you have to demonstrate your inbound revenue and your outbound expenses. So business checking account, however you're managing and running that business, you really need to be able to demonstrate that and document that, because you're going to have to pay taxes on it this year. And so that, and then we can help you with projections. So if you never did financial projections for the business, look at, all right, what are your monthly expenses and what is your monthly revenue, and chart that out over time. And that becomes as much important as what is your business going to do in the next 3 years, as opposed to what has your business done in its first 3 months. And that's the kind of assistance and help that we can go. And that also means the timeline is different. So that if somebody's been in business for 3 years, that's different than somebody who's been in business for 3 months. That's different than somebody who's going to be in business 3 months from now. And all of those have different needs. And so the timelines for the applications are different, kind of based on that.
I'm already in the system with FBA because I get a loan with them, when the virus.
Mm-hmm.
And also I have a business in Florida too, so I have a business here. So I don't know, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I would say put through an inquiry and get matched up with a relationship manager, and they can start working on like your actual specific business up here, and what are you going to use the loan funds for? How are you going to put them to work for the business? And because it's a business that is a food truck that's going to do. We did one in Columbus as a jerk chicken food truck. That's a really different business than a home healthcare staffing agency. And so what those businesses need in terms of assistance and in terms of working capital is pretty drastically different. When you have a home healthcare, you have to be able to hire a bunch of people, have them perform a service, and then bill for that service later. So you need money to hire people. When you have a food truck, you sell food every day, and then you can take those funds and go buy more food with it and then go sell it for a profit. And so they're vastly different business models that use loan funds in different ways. And so that's why it's really important to get matched up with a relationship manager who can work with you on your specific business, because it's different than his and different than hers. And each one of those needs an individual touch, because what they need is different than what you might need.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
For example, will they still ask the owner of the business, like for a bank statement, kind of thing like that?
Yeah, for business bank statements. And then
No, if the owner just start the business and do not have any bank statement for the business, and the owner just get out of his job because he want to focus
on the
his
business.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
To start to get going. Will the bank statement be like?
Then they're more worried about your projections. Yeah, because if you just started the business, and especially if you left your old full-time job in order to start this business, then what money you were making before is no longer applicable now. And what the business will be doing in terms of generating revenue a year from now is also not at all based on anything in that past. And so.
Do you have also nonprofit financing?
So we have one program that assists nonprofits. It's our social enterprise program.
How do you say social what?
Let's see, let's bring it up.
I will take the nonprofit. Yeah. Church.
The other thing that I would say is we always tell people that nonprofit is a tax strategy, not a business plan. And so we actually, ECDI is a nonprofit, and we spend significant resources on maintaining that nonprofit status. And so many social enterprises can be for-profit businesses that still do good work in the community, but don't have the burden of, I want to say ECDI spends almost $40,000 a year on our auditors to come in and make sure that we're doing everything correctly, and we have to. And so I've also seen businesses, there's a business in Columbus that does free menstruation products. And it's a for-profit business that donates menstruation products to schools and things. And so they have a business model that is unique, and it's a for-profit business. And so she started it as trying to be a nonprofit, and then realized that she doesn't need to. It's called Ant Flow, but I'm not discouraging you from starting a nonprofit or anything like that. There is some challenges that go into it.
I have a big question.
Okay.
So I know SBA was offered nonprofit last 2 years. They offered them a grant. Because me, I get $4,000 for my nonprofit.
I get $4,000 from. So I get $4,000 from my nonprofit from Florida. So I know they offer
From the state of Florida?
Yeah. So they don't have it here.
They do, but it's through the state. It's not through
Okay,
us.
The other thing, how you can combine your non-profit to a profit to make it one? I'd like to know that one in my last question.
Honestly, thank you. You wouldn't necessarily need to combine them. You could. Nonprofits aren't owned by anybody. Nobody owns them. They're owned kind of by the community at large. And so really the best thing to do would be to wind down the nonprofit and replace its activities with an LLC that fills that same space or whatever activities they were doing. And so that would be one way to do it. What you are asking is really close to like business legal advice that I'm certainly not qualified or able to give. But to go back to that, so the SBA and a lot of federal small business programs can't work with nonprofits because we can only work with things that are for-profit that can be owned by somebody. And so we do have a program that can help nonprofits to get up and going. It's not the technical help that you would need. It would be like all right, you started a nonprofit and you need to market your services better. We could really help you with that. Or you needed to create an e-commerce profile, something like that. But if you need the business formation of the nonprofit and the formation of the board, and that's outside of what we're able to do.
You can help them create an e-commerce.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what we would do.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have.
A network for probably the other organization that can help them finance it. That's what they do.
Oh, yeah. And we do, through that program, they can do grant writing workshops. So you probably have to fill out some sort of grant application for the state of Florida to get that $4,000. Those types of opportunities exist all across the landscape for nonprofits. And so it's just a matter of identifying how difficult is it to apply, how much work do you have to put into apply. And
I know Florida, they had a lot of, like, for instance, I didn't know about it, but when I had my church, I heard someone just talk to me and then I applied. But it takes me 10 minutes to do the application, and then in less than 5 days, I had 10,000 grand.
Wow.
But I know also some other people got 2,100 because they had a church, so it's 200,000. So it's dependent. The thing is, we don't know how to pay that back because you have to prove what you do with that money.
Correct.
And then also you can get up.
Yep. Yeah, us making sure we capture that you guys are all here proves that we're doing the activity to try to get these programs to you. And so that's like quite literally my time here today is covered by a grant from the Office of Refugee Resettlement. And so just like your nonprofit would apply for a grant, our nonprofit applied for that grant, and I get to be here with you today. So again, next steps, if you go to ecdi.org/refugee, you go to this, and you enter in your information, and we get you matched up with the right person. Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Unless anybody has any other questions.
Okay, what if several business put themselves together, like a coalition or synergy, like business synergy? What do you have for that? What kind of program you have for that?
Well, so we have lots of like networking events. On Thursday of next week in Columbus, we have a refugee resource fair where we're bringing together refugee service providers in Central Ohio to come and we're doing some trainings, small business trainings and credit trainings. And so we have lots of kind of networking and collective events. It's nice that we're able to do those again now. We kind of couldn't for a couple of years. As far as business collectives, it's whatever legal structure that collective would take would kind of define what entity and how we would be able to interact with them. But our resources and services are designed to meet really anybody wherever they are in that small business journey. And so if there's a handful of businesses that would like to receive, if there's a handful of individuals that want to all start up e-commerce sites to sell different types of things, we can do group collective trainings on that, on how to get an Etsy site or how to do Shopify, things like that.
At last, what do you limit the small business to a certain part of the field, or they can be any kind of business?
Any kind of business, any industry. We have everything from food trucks to retail stores. We do owner-operated commercial driver's license transportation companies, all the way up to technology companies. We have a guy who makes radio frequency chips that track the temperature of fruit as it goes through into smoothies. And so,
you deal with that too?
yeah. You still have to be considered a small business and things like that, but we have programs that can help. Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it very much. And again, if you didn't sign in and give us your email address, please make sure we get that, because that is how we will get in touch with you.
Alors merci tout le monde, et j'en ai dit gagner lien pour moun qui pas oueli, c'est ecdi.org/refugee qui c'est moyen pour que vous même capable de remplir l'application c'est là. Donc pour moun qui a une question en aparté pour Tim, yo ka toujours venir devant là, venir poser question yo. Et pas oublier avant nous aller prendre des brochures qui sous table en tout. Pour que nous-mêmes nous capables d'y aller la caille. Pour une version qui traduit en créole complètement, nous sommes capables de joindre sur page radio et page Facebook et YouTube radio qui c'est NDL New Diaspora Live, NDL New Diaspora Live.
So the form that you have, is there a place where they actually put the business name on it? Bon, okay.
Yeah, there's within that document, there's business section, and then there's a section for up to 3 individual owners.
Okay.
If they only have one owner, they don't need to fill out the other pages.
Okay. Et en dernier lieu, pas oublier déposer kit traduction pour moun qui gagne kit traduction yo, pour nous capable récupérer kit traduction yo, pour moun qui fait déplacement avec. Merci en pile, c'est un réel plaisir avec nous. NDL New Diaspora Live, Radio Diaspora.
Right.
that's even thinking of months, okay? Really have some issues with the taxation. Anyway, it's already been regulated, I'm not worried about that. Now they want some guidance here on how to grow this business. And there's a lot of other locations. So we're trying to navigate this field.
Whenever they're, especially it's 50-50, it's really anything over 20% ownership, they're going to require a safety.
So I would recommend was that we move something into a C corp or an S corp and then set up the board of directors, right? And then set up terms of stock and all these kinds of things. Stock.
It's still going to boil down to this. Does that owner have substantive control?
Right, and that's the issue.
If they do, then you're
Et dernière annonce que nous avons fait, et pour les gens qui ont un business, pas oublier que la NDL nous aide les gens capables de gagner non seulement contenu, mais si toutefois on a besoin de structurer business, ou besoin de gagner un business plan, ou besoin de créer logo, ou besoin de créer site internet, ou besoin de compliant avec l'État tout, ou capable toujours, j'ai une consultation gratis là dans l'espace sans côté que nous discuter de ça, nous garder qui meilleure façon nous capable gagner pour nous aider business ou grandir. Donc c'est ça capable intéresser tout le monde qui gagne business déjà, ou du moins qui compte gagne business, capable garder qui gens capable joindre des supports pour business sur l'NDL. Merci.